I stood in my own kitchen, hiding in the shadows, watching 20 of my closest friends and family celebrate the absolute destruction of my life. They were drinking my wine, they were eating food cooked on my grill, and they were cheering for the baby my husband had put inside my best friend. My name is Sarah. I am 32 years old, and what I am about to tell you is not a story about a broken heart. It is the exact blueprint of how I ruthlessly destroyed the people who thought they could play me for a fool. It was a Friday afternoon. The marketing conference in Chicago ended 2 days early. The keynote speaker got sick. Most people stayed to enjoy the city. Not me. I booked the first flight home to surprise my husband, Mark. We had been married for 7 years. We had been trying for a baby for the last 3. The fertility treatments were draining. The negative tests broke me every single month. I thought coming home early would make him happy. I thought a quiet weekend together would fix the strange distance I felt between us lately. During the 3-hour flight, I felt nothing but excitement. I bought his favorite whiskey at the airport. I bought expensive steaks. I wanted to celebrate us. The taxi dropped me off at the end of our street. I decided to walk the rest of the way. I wanted it to be a complete surprise. But when I reached our driveway, the surprise was entirely mine. There were cars everywhere. Mark traveled for work occasionally, but he was supposed to be home alone. I recognized his black truck. Right behind it was a white sedan, Emma's car. Emma was my best friend. We had known each other since college. She practically lived at our house since her divorce 2 years ago. Seeing her car was not unusual, but the 5 other unfamiliar cars parked on the lawn made my stomach tighten. I grabbed my suitcase. I walked up the driveway. I could hear music playing from the backyard. I could hear laughter, loud, festive laughter. I unlocked the front door quietly. The house smelled like roasted meat and expensive perfume. The living room was spotless. There were fresh yellow flowers on every table. I left my suitcase by the door. I walked softly down the hallway toward the kitchen. The voices grew louder. "Have they picked a name yet?" a woman asked. "I think they are keeping it a secret until the baby is born," another woman replied. My heart slammed against my ribs. Baby? Were we hosting a baby shower for a neighbor? Why did Mark not tell me? I took one more step and peered around the corner into the kitchen. My blood turned to ice. My lungs forgot how to breathe. The entire kitchen was covered in pale yellow and white streamers. Giant foil balloons floated near the ceiling. Piles of wrapped gifts covered the granite island. And sitting right in the center was a massive 3-tier cake. I squinted to read the elegant icing. It said, "Congratulations, Mark and Emma. Welcome, baby." I stood there, frozen. My brain refused to process the words. Mark and Emma, my husband, my best friend. Welcome, baby. If you have ever trusted someone completely, only to have them stab you directly in the back, you know exactly how cold the room gets in that exact second. Hit the subscribe button right now if you believe karma always comes to collect its debts. Because trust me, the karma in this story is about to be brutal. I heard Emma's signature high-pitched laugh coming from the patio. Then I heard Mark's voice. He sounded happier than he had been in years. "I cannot wait to be a father," Mark said loudly. The crowd cheered. The words hit me like a physical blow to the chest. I forced my legs to move. I crept closer to the sliding glass door. I needed to see it. I needed proof that I was not losing my mind. Through the glass, I saw them. Mark was standing near the grill. He was smiling. He looked handsome. He looked alive. Standing right next to him was Emma. She was wearing a tight floral summer dress, and she was undeniably heavily pregnant. Her belly was perfectly round. She looked at least 6 months along. 6 months. My brain did the math instantly. All those business trips I took, all those late nights Emma claimed she was sick and could not meet me for coffee. They were not just sleeping together. They were building a whole separate family inside my house. Mark wrapped his arm around Emma's waist. He pulled her close. He leaned down and kissed her neck. It was so natural, so intimate. Then I saw the guests. Mark's mother was there. Mark's brother was there. Even my own cousin was sitting at the patio table, drinking a cocktail and laughing. They all knew. Every single person in my backyard knew my husband was having a baby with my best friend, and they were celebrating it while I was away paying the mortgage on the house they were partying in. A blinding, violent rage ignited in my chest, but I did not scream. I did not cry. Cold revenge requires a cold mind. I reached out. I grabbed the handle of the sliding glass door. I slid it open. The metal track made a loud scraping sound. The music was still playing, but the conversation nearest to the door stopped. Then, like a shockwave, the silence spread. One by one, 20 heads turned to look at me. Emma saw me first. The color instantly drained from her face. She took a step back, instinctively wrapping her arms around her pregnant belly. Mark followed her gaze. His glass of beer slipped from his hand and shattered on the stone patio. Sarah, Mark whispered. He looked like he was staring at the devil. You were supposed to be in Chicago. I stepped out into the sunlight. I looked at the cake. I looked at my mother-in-law. I looked at Emma's belly. And finally, I locked eyes with my husband. Surprise, I said, my voice dangerously calm. So, who wants to be the first to tell me why my husband planted his seed in my best friend? No one moved. No one breathed. The real game had just begun, and I was about to burn their entire world to the ground. The silence on the patio was deafening. 20 pairs of eyes stared at me. No one dared to breathe. Mark took a step forward. He held his hands up like he was trying to calm a wild animal. Sarah, he whispered, please, let us go inside. We can talk about this. Talk about what? I asked. My voice did not shake. Talk about how you got my best friend pregnant? Talk about how she is 6 months along? That means you have been sleeping with her for almost a year. Emma started to cry. Large, fake tears rolled down her cheeks. She rested her hands protectively on her swollen belly. Sarah, I am so sorry, Emma sobbed. We never meant to hurt you. We just fell in love. I stared at her. This was the woman who held my hand when my father died. This was the woman who listened to me cry every time a pregnancy test came back negative. Fell in love? I repeated. You did not fall in love. You sneaked around. You lied. You smiled in my face while you slept in my bed. Mark's mother stood up from her chair. She looked nervous, but determined. Sarah, dear, she said gently, this is a shock. We know. But Mark and Emma are going to have a baby. They need support right now. Please do not make a scene. I slowly turned my head to look at my mother-in-law. You knew, I said. She looked down at her shoes. She could not meet my eyes. I looked at Mark's brother. I looked at our neighbors. I looked at my own cousin. You all knew, I said louder. Every single one of you knew. You came to my house. You drank my wine. You celebrated the destruction of my marriage while I was out working to pay for this party. Mark stepped closer. Sarah, you are always working. You are always traveling. I was lonely. Emma was lonely. It just happened. Do not blame your betrayal on my career, I snapped. I work 60 hours a week to pay the mortgage on the house you are standing in. I pay for the car you drive. I pay for the clothes on your back. Emma took a step toward me. Sarah, please, I know you hate me, but Mark and I want to be a family. Then go be a family, I said smoothly. But you will not do it here. I want everyone off my property. Right now. Mark frowned. His sad, apologetic act faded. Anger replaced it. You cannot kick us out, Mark said. This is my house too. We are married. I smiled. It was a cold, dead smile. No, Mark. This is not your house. I bought this house with my inheritance before we got married. My name is the only name on the deed. My name is the only name on the mortgage. You are just a guest, and your invitation just expired. I pointed at the sliding glass door. Take your pregnant mistress, take your gifts, take your ridiculous cake, and get out. You have exactly 10 minutes before I call the police and report 20 trespassers. I did not wait for their response. I turned around and walked back inside the house. I walked straight up the stairs. I did not run. I did not cry. I went into our bedroom and pulled my largest suitcase from the closet. I started throwing my clothes inside. I did not care about folding them. I just needed to leave. The air in the house felt poisonous. I heard heavy footsteps on the stairs. Mark appeared in the doorway. He looked panicked. Sarah, where are you going? He asked. I'm leaving, I said. I'm going to a hotel. When I come back tomorrow, I expect all of your things to be gone. You are being irrational, he pleaded. We can fix this. Marriages survive infidelity all the time. We can go to counseling. I stopped packing. I looked at the man I had loved for 7 years. Infidelity is a one-night stand, Mark. What you did was build an entire secret life. You got her pregnant. You let me think I was broken because I could not give you a child. All while you were planting your seed in my best friend. I zipped the suitcase. I grabbed the handle and walked past him. Sarah, please, he yelled, following me down the stairs. I have nowhere to go. My salary cannot cover rent in this city. You know that. Then you better ask Emma to clear some space in her apartment, I said without looking back. I walked out the front door. The backyard was quiet. The guests had scattered like roaches. Emma's white sedan was still in the driveway. I put my suitcase in the trunk of my car. I got in, locked the doors, and drove away. I did not look in the rearview mirror. I checked into a hotel on the other side of the city. I paid for a week in advance. When I finally locked the hotel room door, I collapsed onto the bed. The adrenaline wore off. The pain hit me. I cried until my chest physically ached. I cried for the marriage I thought I had. I cried for the best friend I lost. But humans cannot cry forever. Eventually, the tears stop, and something else takes their place. I sat up. I wiped my face. I opened my laptop. For 3 years, I paid all our bills. I managed all our finances. Mark never looked at the bank statements. He just used the credit card I paid off every month. I logged into our joint bank account. I started looking at the transaction history for the past 12 months. I noticed a charge for a fancy Italian restaurant. $200. It was dated on a Tuesday night when I was in New York. I kept scrolling. A jewelry store, $500. A maternity boutique, $300. A weekend getaway at a cabin rental, $800. My hands began to shake, but this time, it was not from sadness. It was from pure, concentrated rage. Mark did not just cheat on me. He used my hard-earned money to fund his entire affair. He used my money to buy gifts for his pregnant girlfriend. I closed the laptop. The sadness was completely gone. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I had saved months ago. The number for the most ruthless divorce attorney in the city. Mark thought losing me was the worst thing that would happen to him. He was wrong. I was not just going to divorce him. I was going to take everything he had ever touched. Monday morning arrived. I walked into the glass office of Diane Vance. She was the most feared divorce attorney in the state. I did not cry. I did not shake. I laid a thick folder of financial documents on her mahogany desk. "My husband is having a baby with my best friend," I said. "He used my money to fund his affair. I want to destroy him legally and financially." Diane opened the folder. She reviewed the bank statements. She looked at the deed to my house. She looked at our tax returns. A slow, predatory smile spread across her face. "Sarah," Diane said, "you are in an incredibly strong position. You bought the house with your inheritance. It is separate property. Mark has absolutely no claim to it." I nodded. "Your salary is 3 times higher than his," Diane continued. "He has been living a luxury lifestyle funded entirely by you. And here is the best part. He used marital funds to buy gifts for his pregnant mistress. That is called dissipation of marital assets. The judge will force him to pay you back every single penny." "I want the papers filed today," I said. "I want him served at his office, in front of all his coworkers." "Consider it done," Diane replied. I walked out of the law firm. I sat in my car. I pulled out my phone. First, I called the credit card company. I canceled the joint credit card, the exact same card Mark used to buy Emma expensive dinners and prenatal vitamins. Second, I opened my banking app. I transferred all my personal savings into a new secure account. I left Mark with exactly $240 in his checking account. For 7 years, Mark drove a car I paid for. He lived in a house I owned. He ate expensive food I bought. He felt like a king. Now, he was about to find out what life actually cost on his tiny salary. Wednesday afternoon, 2 days later, my phone rang. It was Mark. He called exactly 10 minutes after the process server handed him the divorce papers at his office. "Sarah, what the hell is this?" Mark yelled. His voice was shaking with panic. "You cannot be serious." "I am completely serious," I said calmly. "The papers say you want me out of the house in 30 days, Mark said. "That is my home too." "No, Mark. It is my house. I paid the mortgage. You just slept there. And you brought another woman into my bed." "Sarah, please." His voice cracked. "We built a life together." "You built a lie together," I corrected him. "You have 28 days to get your things out of my house." I hung up. That evening, the phone call started. Mark sent his family to do his dirty work. His mother called me first. "Sarah, dear, you need to slow down," his mother said. "People make mistakes. Emma is going to need support. Mark is going to be a father. If you divorce him now, you will ruin their lives. You are a successful woman. Have some compassion and step aside." I gripped the phone tightly. I could not believe her words. "Let me get this straight," I said. "Because I am successful, I should sacrifice my marriage so your son can play house with my best friend?" "I am just asking you to be the bigger person," she said. "I am the bigger person," I replied. "That is why I am not burning his clothes on the front lawn. Do not ever call this number again." I blocked her. I blocked his brother. I cut the dead weight from my life. 3 weeks later, Mark had exactly 3 days left to vacate my house. He called me again. This time, he was not angry, he was completely desperate. Sarah, I need a favor, Mark pleaded. We communicate through lawyers, I said. Please listen to me, Mark begged. I cannot find an apartment. Every place I apply to rejects me. My income is not high enough. I am going to be homeless. Emma lives in a tiny studio. There is no room for me and the baby there. For 7 years, Mark lived in a house that cost $3,000 a month to maintain. Now he was trying to rent a one-bedroom apartment on a $45,000 salary. Ask your mother for a room, I suggested. She said no, Mark admitted softly. My brother said no too. I smiled. The same family that told me to forgive him refused to help him. You have 3 days, I said. After that, I changed the locks. Mark moved out. He rented a miserable, dirty room in a bad part of town. He had to sell his car to afford the security deposit. I got my beautiful house back. I completely renovated it. I erased every trace of his existence. I thought the revenge was complete. I thought justice was served. But 2 months later, my phone rang at midnight. It was Mark. He was sobbing uncontrollably. Emma lost the baby, Mark choked out. And then she left me. She took everything. I am sleeping in my car. Please, Sarah, can I just sleep on your couch? I told him no. I hung up the phone. I felt nothing but triumph. But 1 week later, I walked into a grocery store and bumped directly into Emma. She looked pale and sick. Sarah, Emma whispered, do not walk away. You need to know the truth. Mark lied to you. He did not cheat on you for 1 year. She looked over her shoulder, her eyes wide with fear. He has been doing this for over 3 years. And the real reason he got me pregnant will make your blood run cold. I stood in the grocery store aisle. I stared at the woman who used to be my best friend. Emma looked broken. The arrogant glow of her pregnancy was completely gone. Not here, Emma whispered. Let us go get coffee. 20 minutes later, we sat in a small cafe. Emma ordered tea. Her hands shook as she held the mug. Mark lied to you, Emma began softly. He told you our affair started 1 year ago. That was a lie. It started 3 months after my divorce. That was 3.5 years ago, Sarah. My stomach dropped. 3.5 years. That meant Mark was sleeping with her during our anniversary trip to Europe. He was sleeping with her while we were actively going to the fertility clinic. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. My voice was like ice. Because after I lost the baby, Mark showed me who he really is, Emma said. Tears filled her eyes. 3 days after I came home from the hospital, he packed his bags. He said our relationship had run its course. He said the pregnancy was an accident, and without the baby, there was no reason for us to be together. I stared at her. The cruelty was breathtaking. He abandoned her while she was grieving their dead child. But that is not the worst part, Emma continued. She wiped her eyes. Before he walked out of my apartment, he asked me a question. He asked if I thought you would take him back. My jaw clenched. He said he made a terrible mistake leaving you, Emma sobbed. He blamed me. He said if I had not gotten pregnant and forced him to choose, he would still have his comfortable life with you. He used me, Sarah. He just used me as an excuse to leave. And when the money ran out, he dumped me. I sat back in my chair. The final puzzle piece snapped into place. Mark did not love Emma. Mark loved himself. He loved my money. When the baby died, Emma stopped being a fantasy. She became a financial burden he could not afford. I looked at Emma. I hope you learn how to survive, I said, because I will not save you. I stood up. I walked out of the cafe. I left her sitting there crying. I felt absolutely nothing for her. 6 months passed. I was having dinner with a client at a downtown restaurant. I walked past the bar on my way to the exit, and there he was, Mark. He looked terrible. He was thinner. He looked 10 years older. He was drinking cheap whiskey alone. I almost kept walking, but I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to see what he threw away. I walked over. I sat on the empty stool next to him. Hello, Mark, I said. He looked up. His face went through a rapid series of emotions. Shock, shame, and then pathetic hope. Sarah, he whispered, but I cannot believe you are here. I was having dinner, I said. I looked at his cheap clothes. This is not the kind of place you used to frequent when I was paying the bill. He laughed bitterly. I live in a moldy studio apartment. I drive a car that barely starts. I do my laundry at a public laundromat. Are you happy now? Your misery does not make me happy, I replied smoothly. Your misery is just the natural consequence of your own actions. Emma told me everything, Mark. 3.5 years. He closed his eyes. He took a heavy breath. I ruined everything, Mark said. You were a perfect wife. You were generous. You were loyal. You gave me everything, and I destroyed it. Why did you do it? I asked. I did not ask out of pain. I asked out of clinical curiosity. Mark stared into his empty glass. Because you were perfect. You made more money than me. You were smarter than me. Every single day, I lived with the knowledge that you could do better than me. I felt like a failure standing next to you. The truth finally revealed itself. Emma made me feel like a king, he confessed. She was impressed by the house, the cars, the lifestyle. She did not know my wife paid for all of it. With her, I felt powerful. With you, I felt small. I sabotaged our marriage because I am a coward. He looked at me with desperate, pathetic eyes. Sarah, please, he begged. Is there any chance at all that you would let me come home? We had good years. I know what I lost now. I will do anything. I stood up from the bar stool. I looked down at the man who used to be my entire world. You did not learn anything, Mark, I said. You do not want me back because you love me. You want me back because your life is hard now. You want your ATM machine back. I picked up my designer bag. I hope you figure out how to be a man, Mark, because right now, you are nothing. I turned my back on him. I walked out of the restaurant. I stepped into the cool night air. I never saw him again. 2 years have passed since that horrible baby shower in my backyard. Let me tell you what happened to the people who thought they could destroy me. Mark never recovered financially. He works a dead-end job. He lives paycheck to paycheck. No woman stays with him once they realize he has zero ambition and zero money. Emma moved back into her childhood bedroom with her parents. She started dating her boss, hoping for another free ride. He got her pregnant and immediately abandoned her. She is now a single mother, working part-time, completely broke. My mother-in-law, who told me to step aside and show compassion, never got the grandchild she wanted from Mark. I blocked her number 2 years ago. I never spoke to her again. And me? 6 months after the divorce, I got a massive promotion. I became the regional director of my company. My income doubled. I renovated my entire house. I tore out the kitchen where I saw that cake. I planted a beautiful rose garden over the exact spot where Mark and Emma stood. I traveled to Italy. I traveled to Japan. I bought clothes I loved. I ate at the best restaurants. I built an empire with my own 2 hands. I am dating a surgeon named Marcus. He is brilliant. He is kind. And most importantly, he has his own money. He looks at my success with pride, not jealousy. He does not need me to survive. He chooses me because he wants me. When I walked into my house that day and saw my husband rubbing my best friend's pregnant belly, I thought my life was over. I thought I lost everything, but I did not lose anything valuable. I lost a parasite. I lost a fake friend. I lost a marriage built entirely on lies. Sometimes, the worst betrayal is actually the greatest gift the universe can give you. It cuts the dead weight out of your life. It forces you to see the truth. If someone betrays you, do not shrink yourself. Do not forgive them to keep the peace. Burn their lies to the ground. Take back your power and build a life so beautiful that it becomes their greatest regret. My name is Sarah, and this is how I won.